Welcome to the third DansDeals Podcast. This thing is really catching on now. I'm loving doing it with you, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We've been posting the best deals online for over 20 years, saving people billions of dollars and earning them tens of billions of miles and points. And we're here to do the same for you. With American, recently, there's a much better way of booking American flights, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You could book American flights using American miles. Currently, those miles are hard to come by.
Right.
Nobody really transfers over to American. And that's on purpose. They want you to use their credit card.
No major bank.
No major bank. Now, they announced that with their re-upping of their contract with Citibank, that they're closing off the Barclays cards. People that have a Barclays card can be transferred over to a Citibank card.
Automatically.
Yeah, over the next, probably 13 months, they'll be transferred over to Citibank automatically. And as part of that agreement, they said that they're going to integrate with Citi Thank You points, so which is really cool. And everybody's assumption is that Citi Thank You points will be transferable over to American. It's just a question of when.
How about the ratio? Is it going to be 1-to-1?
It'll be 1-to-1. Yeah, it was 1-to-1 when they did this for a few month period a few years ago. It'll be 1-to-1. Almost all their partners are 1-to-1 pretty much. Their hotel ones can vary a little bit.
That's a huge win for Citi.
Huge win. Yeah, huge win. So American miles are great miles. First of all, you can cancel at any time and get all your miles and taxes paid back. No fees. And there's just great value on domestic redemptions, international redemptions, business class. There's a lot of great sweet spots. And they still have an award chart for partner airlines, which Delta doesn't have, United doesn't have. So that's valuable.
Which partners are good with American in general?
Any one world partner. So, anything from Cathay Pacific to Qatar to Qantas. British Airways has those fuel surcharges.
Right.
But there's lots of other partners. There's Finnair, there's Iberia, there's lots of one world airlines. So there's lots of great redemption options. Alaska also, to book on Alaska. But the game changer that exists right now is that you can transfer miles from Amex to Alaska. So that wasn't previously possible. But now that Alaska is merging with Hawaiian Airlines, this is what I wrote about in August, that I was transferring over a lot of miles from Amex to Hawaiian Airlines, hoping that they'd convert to Alaska miles. And Amex in August had a promotion for a 20% bonus when you transferred to Hawaiian. So for every one Amex point, you got 1.2 Hawaiian miles. And the hope was that they'd transfer over to Alaska miles at an even 1-to-1 ratio, which is exactly what happened. 2 weeks later, you're able to transfer over those Hawaiian miles over to Alaska. So that worked out well. But you can still transfer Amex points over to Alaska at a 1-to-1 ratio by basically just transferring Amex points to Hawaiian and then Hawaiian points into Alaska points.
Right. And that's all instant.
All instant. The names do have to match. But with Amex, for example, if you add an authorized user, you can transfer points to that authorized user's mileage account.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. You do have to have it active for, I think, 60 days before you could do that as an authorized user, but there's no fee to add an authorized user onto most cards.
Right.
So that's a nice way to transfer over to someone else's account.
Very cool. Okay, so let's jump into what you could do with Alaska miles and why they're special.
It used to be like around 2011, British Airways launched Avios, and for 4,500 Avios, you're able to book domestic short-haul flights on American, and they've continually raised that.
What are some sample
price.
routes of that?
Yeah, so New York to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Toronto, Montreal, Boston, DC, short-haul routes like that.
Miami to the Caribbean.
Sure. Yeah, Miami to Cancun. There's lots of other, Los Angeles over to Vegas or San Francisco.
Right.
Or even to Cabo should be within that first band. I have to check exactly. But there's lots of great short haul routes. So those used to be 4,500 British Airways miles, and they've raised it then to 6 and 7.5 and 11.5. And now it's 16,500 British Airways Avios. Wow. So it's no longer a good deal with British Airways. But Alaska came and changed their award chart. They lowered the price, which is unheard of, really. And
why did they do that?
Just to gain more popularity for their program. They have a smaller program. It's a niche program, but they want people to open up their credit cards and participate in their loyalty program.
They have just the one hub in Seattle?
Well, they just merged with Hawaiian Airlines. So now they have their hub in Anchorage. Their primary hub is Seattle. They also had a secondary hub in Portland, Oregon. Okay. And now they have the Honolulu hub that they've inherited from Hawaiian.
Right.
They're really striving to become an international carrier. They're launching flights over to Asia now from Seattle, which they've never done before. So they're becoming a larger player. I could totally see over the Trump administration them trying to buy JetBlue, for example.
Okay.
Because Alaska's really strong on the West Coast.
Right.
And JetBlue is so strong, Boston, JFK, Fort Lauderdale, which Alaska has very little market presence.
Right.
So Alaska could really grow.
As long as they axe the JetBlue team, that sounds pretty good, right?
Which part of the JetBlue team?
The whole team. And JetBlue's been going down for years now.
Ever since
profitability, amenities in flight, they're on time schedule. What hasn't been bad about JetBlue the past few years?
They've been an operational mess for a lot of years now. I mean, it really started when they had their operations meltdown under David Neeleman, who founded the airline. He also founded lots of other airlines like WestJet or Azul in Brazil, and he founded Breeze in the U.S. afterwards. So he's a prolific founder of airlines, but he was pushed out after JetBlue had a meltdown a while back. But they've definitely gotten worse since they pushed him out.
Yeah.
Less customer friendly. It used to be a very customer friendly airline, but just operationally, yeah, they've been a mess.
Total mess. And Alaska's miles are so much better than the JetBlue points.
To be fair, Alaska is part of the One World Alliance, and that's why this is all possible, is they have all these partnerships because they're able to join that alliance. And JetBlue is a little bit too niche, too small, too boutique,
right,
to join an alliance.
Also directly competing with a lot of the other big players in those alliances, being on the East Coast.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. For example, American had that Northeast Alliance with JetBlue, which was helping both of them because they're both too small in the Northeast.
Right.
In New York City, Delta and United are so big that American and JetBlue can't really compete with them effectively. So that Northeast Alliance helped them compete, even though they are still competitors with each other. But by them cooperating on routes, they were able to really compete better. But the Biden administration, DOT and Justice Department shut that down.
Right. So a switch to Trump would then allow Alaska.
I could see two parts. I could see JetBlue trying to restart that Northeast Alliance with American because they both still want it. Well, Alaska wouldn't be part of a Northeast Alliance, but I could see...
But they could become partners.
There's a few different paths. I could see American trying to push JetBlue to joining One World, although they're pretty small. But if American wants it, they'll get them in there because American and British Airways are the
anchors.
The anchors of the One World Alliance. But I could also see Alaska merging with JetBlue, buying JetBlue and integrating them. With Hawaiian, they're going to keep that as a separate brand. They're going to keep the Hawaiian planes and Alaska planes
and
separate.
That makes sense for marketing because one's going to Hawaii and one's going to Alaska, right? It sells itself.
It would be weird if flights to Hawaii are on Alaska. If I'm flying from LA to Hawaii and I'm flying on Alaska, it's kind of strange.
I mean, the SEO is also priceless, literally.
Yeah.
Someone's looking for Hawaii flights, and Hawaii's number one every single time.
So that's part of it. I think part of it also is they wanted the local support for the merger to go through, so they had to promise that. But I think they're going to stick with it just because of that reason. They're both named after states,
right?
And even though their primary hub is in Seattle and not Anchorage, but they are still very heavy in Alaska. So they'll probably keep those two brands.
I like that for an airline merger. I feel like when you lose a brand, when United lost Continental, it's just you lose stuff.
They kept their tail. They kept
the logo.
Yeah. So interesting little give back there.
Yeah, but just I don't know. I don't know if it's operationally or just something's lost when an airline disappears.
Yeah.
Right.
But I could see Alaska merging with JetBlue. And I don't think the JetBlue brand stays at that point. I think it becomes Alaska, similar to how they bought Virgin America. That became just integrated with the Alaska network.
Yeah. I mean, also, like I said, JetBlue's been such a mess the past few years. Even their loyalist customers, I think, are starting to pick. I mean, they're not even going to be flying to Miami anymore, right?
They're still flying Miami to Boston, but it's probably
New York. I'm in New York, Miami.
Yeah, New York, Miami is being discontinued.
Yeah, I had a friend that just signed up for the JetBlue credit card, and he's trying to spend on it to get Mint status just for the Miami to New York route. Mosaic status just for the Miami to New York route, which he does all the time.
Yeah.
And now he's like, the news just broke. They're stopping that
route. And if
route.
you're based in Miami, going to Fort Lauderdale is a schlep.
Not too bad, but yeah.
Depends where you are.
Right.
If you're in Brickell, you don't want to go to Fort Lauderdale. If you're in, here we're shooting this episode in Surfside.
Right. It's
pretty equidistant, right?
Yeah. So they're still going to fly Fort Lauderdale to New York?
Yeah.
Just not Miami to New York.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's not as bad as I thought, actually.
Yeah. They're just cutting out the Miami airport. Miami's a tough airport for them because American is such a presence there and because they no longer have that alliance. It made sense with the alliance.
Right.
But with that end of the alliance, the Northeast Alliance with American, that had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still flying West Palm. They're still flying Fort Lauderdale.
I mean, yeah, like you said, in Surfside, I would take Fort Lauderdale.
It's an easier airport, right? Versus Miami Airport is huge. You're renting a car from Miami.
Oh.
You need to take the shuttle over.
But first of all, you're flying into D60 coming from Cleveland, right?
Not as often as it used to be. They used to fly those ERJ 145s.
Yeah.
So now they fly bigger planes.
Okay. I mean, so D50, D60, somewhere within that region every single time.
Yeah.
And then you got to go take the train, go up to the train, take it down 3 places, go out.
Well, you take the shuttle from the rental car just to get to the terminal, then you walk in the terminal.
Oh, you're talking about coming to the airport. I was talking about leaving.
Yeah, coming to the airport. And then if you're trying to find the pre-check and it's all the way at the other end, it's like by D1.
Yeah.
And then you go through and all the people mover is down. That's ridiculous. But even when the people mover is moving,
right,
you still need to wait for that and take it all the way down to D60. It only goes to about D45 and then walk another. It's unbelievable.
Rental car to gate in Miami is minimum 20 minutes, right?
No, more than that.
More than that.
I think so.
I haven't rented a car in Miami in a long time.
Yeah.
How long?
I mean, it depends on security. Depends if pre-check is open. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's no clear in the American Airlines terminal in Miami because American blocks clear because it's owned by Delta and United.
Hello, door 11 every single time.
What's door 11?
You don't know about the door 11 trick?
I'm not based in Miami.
Oh my gosh. Miami Airport, go to door 11. It's right past American.
Okay.
And there is a clear line that never has a wait.
That's awesome.
You go through it. It's E to the left or D to the right.
Okay.
And you end up right around D35, I want to say.
Okay.
When you walk past this path, it's a bit more walking.
Okay.
But it's consistently no security line by Claire. And I know with
I wonder what the hours are. Sometimes Claire has pretty poor hours. I'm flying like on a 9 p.m. flight.
9 p.m.
out of Miami. It's probably too late for it. We'd have to. I'll check it.
No, I took the 9 p.m. out of Miami this past Saturday.
You leave more time than I do to go to the airport.
No, but it'll be open.
We flew yesterday from Louisville to Miami, and the brother that's in between us, David, was very nervous about only arriving to the airport 90 minutes before the flight. And I'm like,
you're giving no context right now.
All right, fine. We were stuck on the highway for 40 minutes, not moving. There's the context.
And he's a surgeon.
When we got to the airport and we got there 90 minutes before the flight, I didn't even see him. He bolted. He bolted off. And I mean, it's Louisville Airport at night. It's a 5-minute.
We have jobs. We are blessed. We can do it from anywhere in the world.
That's fair.
He took off for the first time in a while, and
which was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. We'll talk about that soon.
We should talk about that.
But he had surgery. He had surgeries lined up. People depending on him to operate on them today.
So you're saying he can't just work from anywhere with a laptop?
It's a weird concept.
Why would he go into a field like that?
Saving lives and all.
Overrated. No, God bless him. He's amazing. He's amazing. His patients love him. If you look on Google, his Google reviews are crazy.
That's right. ENT family, Broward.
Yeah.
Number 1 ENT in the world. Absolutely.
He's great.
Dr. Dave. Door 11. Check it out.
I will.
Are you flying out of Miami tonight?
Yep.
Have them drop you off by door 11.
Okay.
There's not going to be a long line at 9 p.m. either way, so it's a bit of a waste, but you could see what it's like.
No.
And it's just a bit of a walk over a bridge or whatever it is, hallway to the decon course. And that's my go-to every time.
I'll check it out.
Okay, so you were trying to say exactly what your estimate is for a total time from car return to the airport, to your gate.
I got to figure it's half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Fort Lauderdale, 15 minutes?
If you're flying like United Terminal 1, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Oh, forget about it.
Clear and pre-check.
Is there a shuttle in Fort Lauderdale rental?
In Terminal 1, it's the same. The car rental return is Terminal 1.
Is Terminal 1. You just walk right across to
there. It's so easy. Now, if you're flying like Spirit or JetBlue, then there's a shuttle.
Right.
But yeah, United is amazing out of Fort Lauderdale. I love that flight. But the only problem is they only fly in the afternoon. They don't fly in the evening. So if you want to get the full day out of it, you're stuck going out of Miami if you're going to Cleveland.
Let's play this game for a second. Let's go by city. Talk your favorite airport in each city for the ones that have multiples. Okay. Let's do Miami or Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, I mean Fort Lauderdale every time. No
by
question.
a mile. Yeah. I agree. As a local, it's not even close.
Yeah, Miami Airport is one of the worst in the world, and Fort Lauderdale is just a great airport.
Yeah, it's just a small like boutique airport that I've flown out of West Palm and it's even better. It's so small.
Yeah,
you're right there.
Back in the day when Continental had a hub in Cleveland, we'd fly out of West Palm, it would be easy, but they have it nonstop. But now there's so few flights. I think Breeze last year flew Akron to West Palm. I didn't make it onto that flight though.
Yeah.
But Akron's more of a pain than Hopkins is for me,
Right.
at least.
So Cleveland, Akron, Hopkins.
Yeah, I flew Breeze from Las Vegas to Akron.
Okay.
They actually gave me a ticket on that flight to try them out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really cool experience.
Yeah. How is Breeze different than other airlines?
Yeah.
Breeze is a new airline that opened up recently. Probably a lot of people don't know about it.
Obviously, they're lower cost.
Are they going in that Spirit Frontier area?
No, they're trying to be premium. So they're flying A220s, which is a fantastic plane, in the back of the bus that's 3 and 2 versus 3 and 3. So only 1 out of every 5 passengers are going to have a middle seat, or less than that if it's not a full flight.
Right.
So most passengers are going to have that window or aisle seat much more than other airlines because of that configuration. A220 is just a great plane, also really comfortable plane, nice wide seats, just really great bathrooms, great.
You're not hitting your head like the 737 MAX.
No, A220 is really a wonderful plane. I love that plane. And they have premium economy seating, and they have first class seating, really nice first class seating, really nice recline, good leg room. Yeah, I have no complaints whatsoever about Breeze. Really, really nice.
And Akron Airport, is it kind of like a Miami Fort Lauderdale airport? Like, I mean, Cleveland's not a bad airport, but it is bigger.
Akron's really nice. I mean, you could park like literally 10 feet away from the terminal.
Really?
It's incredible. It's like going to the mall and you just walk inside. Akron's a great airport for that. It's farther for me. That's about it.
And much less flights,
Hopkins,
obviously.
Yeah, the flights are very limited. Breeze is great there. Breeze has flights all over the place out of Akron now. But they change all the time. They were flying to Palm Beach and Los Angeles. They don't have those anymore. They're shifting them around. But for Vegas, it was awesome. And their gate in Vegas was right by the Amex Centurion Club, which was nice. So I got to take a shower there before the flight and get onto that flight and fly in first class back to Akron, which is just a fantastic experience.
That's nice. All right. Now the big question. New York, LaGuardia, JFK, or Newark?
Golly. Newark has really been delay prone of late. They've changed where the controllers are based out of. They moved the ATC for Newark, and that's caused a lot of delays. It's just very capacity limited. The number of runways is limited. LaGuardia also only has 1 real runway.
Right.
But I find the delays in Newark are worse. So I've been flying more and more into LaGuardia or JFK.
Between
the new LaGuardia is really nice.
It is, right?
It's a lot more walking, but it's really nice. The lounges are amazing.
Yeah. They have beautiful lounges.
Beautiful lounges. The American Lounge has free kosher food.
Really?
You have to ask for it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not like, gourmet food. It's airline meals, right?
It's airline meals. You could get a decent meal sometimes.
Yeah. I tried the spaghetti and meatballs. It's not winning any prizes, but it's free and it's good in the American Airlines Lounge there.
That's very
that
cool.
I get into with my Citi, American Airlines executive card.
Right.
The Chase Lounge, the Sapphire Lounge there is awesome. You can get into with your Chase credit cards. It's really a great lounge. You can even sign up for spa services there for free.
Did you get a facial there?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. Awesome. The dude was like doing like these like oils in my beard. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I've never done anything like this before. But I don't know. It felt good.
We played pinball there. It's such a cool lounge.
They have a little like shuffleboard thing there, and they have custom cocktails, and they'll bring you kosher snacks if you ask for it.
Great beer too. Great IPAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. When I was there, the like executive lounge rooms were open upstairs. They were like showing it off, and they had even like more premium snacks up there. And
yeah, those are pretty expensive to rent out those private rooms. But yeah, they have some snacks, not much. They have some chips, they have some nuts. What they have there?
Chips and nuts.
Yeah, United out of the Fort Lauderdale. Speaking of Fort Lauderdale again, but United Fort Lauderdale has a pretty decent snack menu where they have those Tostitos guacamole, and they have pastoral hummus and pretzels, and they have some other snacks you could ask for. So that's pretty
freestyle.
Cool. I mean, a lot of the Delta lounges have kosher meals also. They're not great usually. I think out of New York now, Delta is serving fresco in their Delta clubs.
Really?
I haven't tried that up. That's what I heard recently.
Do you still get in with your platinum card?
Sure. Yeah, you need to be flying Delta though.
Right, and just the user, no more guests.
Right, but if you have an additional user on your platinum card, if it's a paid platinum additional user, they can get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. If you fly Delta a lot.
Right.
Especially if there's kosher food. That's actually an amazing perk. You could pay that off in 3 visits easily.
So LaGuardia is probably my preference out of New York. Yeah.
That's cool. I guess close to Manhattan also.
Yeah.
And often going to the city when we, restaurants right when you get into New York.
Yeah. If I do want to go specifically to the OHEL, to the Rebbe's Ohel, then I'll probably find the JFK because it's a lot closer.
Right. Depending on how much time you have.
So it depends where I want to go. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. I feel like we zoomed out at one point, and I want to zoom back in on Alaska miles and why they are so good right now for domestic flights.
Yeah. So it starts at 4,500 miles, which is great. So you could fly short haul flights, New York to Cleveland, to Pittsburgh, to Detroit, to Columbus, to Montreal, to Toronto, to Boston, to DC, 4,500 miles each way. Or if you want to fly,
that's crazy cheap.
Yeah, it's ridiculously cheap.
And that's on what airline are you flying? Because Alaska doesn't fly those routes, right?
Correct. They'll book you on their one world partner, in this case, American. And that's an economy. If you want to fly first class, 9,000 miles each way. It's a joke. It's cheaper than, again, British Airways is charging 16,500 each way in economy. Yeah. Alaska's charging 9,000 in first class.
It's like 2010 came back all of a sudden.
It's amazing.
Like, what happened?
Yes.
With this program?
Yeah,
That's
and people
crazy.
talk about that era as like being the golden age for redemptions, and all of a sudden it's back and availability is pretty good.
Right.
So that's incredible to see. Yeah.
And I've noticed that American will not have Saver Awards available for a route, but Alaska will. Have you seen that?
So American doesn't really have Saver Awards per se anymore on their own flights. Okay. They got rid of their award charts for their own flights, though they still maintain them for partner flights. Mm-hmm. And now it's just kind of variable. So it could be all over the place. But yeah, even if American isn't charging the lowest number of miles for a flight, it could still be available on Alaska. So American might charge 5,000 for Cleveland to New York, or they might charge 35,000. And in both those cases, I've been able to book them for 4,500 Alaska miles, which is interesting.
The other thing I found really interesting about it is often people look at the paid price. It's $450 for this flight. Like, oh, that's not going to be available on miles. And let me go on American. Oh, it's 30,000 miles. Well, why would I bother checking Alaska? And then you go on Alaska and it's 4,500 miles. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is the best deal ever for miles, especially in 2024.
And so many people ask me that about these short haul flights that could cost a fortune, and what they can do about them. And that's the answer: is you transfer your Amex points to Hawaiian, and then your Hawaiian miles over to Alaska miles.
Right. And they actually have a limited time offer right now on the Alaska credit card. Yeah. Right. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, 70,000 miles we're signing up for that. So great offer.
Wow. So how many domestic flights are you able to get out of 70,000 miles?
So with that offer, you can get 15 short haul flights.
Wow. And I mean, sometimes these flights are like $450
each
way. I mean, that's over $7,000 for signing up for a credit card. Yeah. Like $1,000 is amazing. Yeah. And you're able to get 7,000 out of that.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that there are some sweet spots even in that award chart, which is based on how far the flight is. So Newark to Chicago or Philadelphia to Chicago, it really should cost 7,500 miles in coach or 15,000 in business, but they cost 4.5 or 9.
Don't tell anyone this.
Okay. Keep that on the down low.
Right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And how are they for longer? I know here up Miami to New York is, I think,
7,500 in coach, 15,000 in first.
Which is, again, the lowest there is.
Same thing, Miami to Cleveland, which I'm flying tonight using Alaska miles, 7,500 in coach, 15,000 in first. So yeah, great bargain. Really is a great bargain. Because even when the tickets get expensive, you could still find that.
Right. And I don't find it with Avios, though. I'm looking at the same flight for the cheaper rate with Avios. I think so. Is it just Avios went up so much that I'm not associating it with the cheaper rates anymore?
Yeah, it costs so much now. Now you might pay 20,000 Avios for that flight,
right?
Versus with Alaska 7,500. So the availability, I think, should be identical.
Okay.
British Airways website can be pretty buggy.
Yeah,
but it should be just that much cheaper using Alaska miles.
I know you're always telling me to never book a round trip flight. Always book one ways. What's up with that?
I never book round trip flights. I always book one way at a time. It gives the most flexibility to change one direction, not the other, to cancel one direction, not the other. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason to lock yourself into a round trip ticket.
If you miss the first leg, it automatically cancels the second.
Yeah, if something comes up and you need to change that outbound ticket, you might lose the rest of your ticket. It might cancel out if you need to change it. So by having 2 one-way tickets, you can just skip that first leg, refund it, or just not use it, and your way back is still intact.
And this is especially true for domestic tickets, because international, I find it's a lot more expensive to book 2 one-ways.
So it depends if you're buying with cash or buying with miles. Typically with miles, it won't be more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But with cash, yes, you generally have to book round trip if you're using cash internationally. Domestic, sometimes it's true also. Sometimes when you're using cash, it
Really?
could be cheaper. Yeah, it could be cheaper to book the round trip. Just depends on the airline, depends on the route.
Mm-hmm.
It could vary.
Okay.
So always check the one-way pricing and the round trip pricing, but assuming it's the same, book it as 2 one-ways.
I would ask you if it's cheaper for paid round trip if you would do that, but I know you don't pay for flights.
No.
So when's the last time you paid cash for a flight?
My memory doesn't go back that far, and it goes back pretty far.
Yeah. I think mom and dad were paying for our flights back then.
Sounds about right.
Wow. So what about further routes domestically, like New York to LA? Is that also good use of Alaska miles?
Yeah, it is. It's 12,500 miles in economy or 25,000 in business.
That's
which
pretty
is,
standard across airlines, right?
other airlines have been raising it, so it's pretty good still.
And
Yeah.
their availability will still be better often than airlines directly, like American.
Yeah, it should be. It just depends on your dates and what's going on that day. And even if it's not available today,
Mhm.
it could be available tomorrow for the same flight.
Right.
So you really have to stay on top of it. It changes all the time. So if I'm looking for a mileage award ticket, I'll check it daily if it's not available.
Interesting. What about international flights with Alaska miles? Are there any sweet spots, as we call them, with
For
that?
sure. If you want to go JFK to London,
Mhm.
22.5K in economy, 45K in business.
Un-American again.
Yeah. So Delta's like having this crazy sale today. I just got email where it's 200,000 miles to fly round trip business class.
Right.
Meanwhile, Alaska's regular deal without a sale is 45,000 each way.
Wow.
So to fly
90,000
and
round
they'll
trip.
book you on American or British Airways. You want to be on American though, because they don't charge fuel surcharges if you're flying American. If you fly in British Airways, they pass on those fuel surcharges. It'll look pretty expensive.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Are there any more exotic locations? Like obviously London, cool. But anything
Yeah,
else a little bit more exotic with
I don't know
Alaska
if
miles?
Rome is exotic, but Rome's a good deal too. 27.5 in coach, 55 in business.
Okay.
A little more exotic, you can go to like Tahiti on
Oh, sweet.
Air Tahiti Nui is a one world partner. So LA to Tahiti would be like 20,000 miles in coach, 60,000 in business.
Availability is really hard on that with American. Have you seen that?
It comes and goes. It's kind of streaky where some months it'll be wide open and some months it won't be. But even again, from day to day, it just changes so frequently. But I've seen it available.
Is that based on the weather? Because I mean, Tahiti, you're going to Bora Bora usually, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that based on like the season there?
It
What's
is seasonal.
available?
It is a seasonal destination. Bora Bora is better in our summertime, but at the same token, if you just want to get away from the cold, you can still go in the winter. It might be a little bit rainier,
Right.
but you'll still get good days there. Yeah, Melbourne to LA is also decent price, 42.5 in coach, 85 in business. I'll book you on Qantas or book you on American for that.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
If you want to go to Morocco,
Mhm.
it should be, I think, 27.5 in economy or 55 in business. JFK to Morocco and Royal Air Maroc. Plenty of good deals with that
How is
Alaska
that
award
airline?
chart. Depends on the plane. JFK to Morocco to Casablanca should be nice.
Yeah. You said
Yeah.
Royal Air Maroc is the airline?
Yeah.
I never even heard of them.
Moroccan national carrier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a new Park Hyatt in Morocco, right?
Yeah,
Have
just
you heard?
opened.
Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't seen many reviews on it yet. Not yet. No.
I looked it up. It didn't look that great, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, people often, when they go to like Marrakesh, they'll want to stay in like a traditional riad, something a little more exotic, I guess, than a
Mhm.
hotel. Better warmer hospitality,
That might
better
be
location. Also, I think the Hyatt,
it's a little
Park Hyatt,
further
there's a
out.
little further afield. So pros and cons. You're not like right in the middle of the hustle and bustle. It's more,
Right.
spread out and not in the middle of things, but on the other hand, it's not in the middle of things.
Right. And this might just be my ignorance showing. Maybe that was the vibe they were going for
Yeah.
at the Park Hyatt, because it did look kind of smaller than a typical Park Hyatt room would be. And maybe that's what they're going for, is that type of local vibe.
I haven't
I don't
haven't
know.
really done enough research into that.
Right.
I mean, I love so many Park Hyatts. I haven't really done much research into Morocco. It is on my bucket list. Kind of pulled back a little bit after October 7th, but I'm sure I'll make it there.
Yeah, for sure. Park Hyatts generally, I think, try to blend into the local environment and culture. So
Yeah.
that's probably what they were going for there.
Okay.
All right. What else can you tell me about Alaska Miles?
If you want to book a partner award, they do charge a $12.50 per direction booking fee. You
Okay.
don't get that back if you cancel the award. So while with American Miles, it is fully refundable.
Mhm.
With Alaska, you do have that $12.50 booking fee. But if you want to change the award, that's free. So rather than cancel the award, if like I was booked Miami to Cleveland and I had to push it off by a day, all I had to do was change it to the next day, and there was no fee to do that.
Oh, that's
So there's
cool.
no reason to cancel it per se, unless you need the miles for a different trip. But as long as you're okay just letting it ride, You could change the flight out to 4 months from now and change it again. There's no limit to how many times you could change it for free.
Right. Will they do like a courtesy waive of that $12 fee if you ask nicely?
If you cancel within 24 hours, it doesn't go back automatically. But if you ask them, or you could DM them on X.
Oh, so within 24 hours of booking, you could get it refunded.
Yeah.
Even
it
if
won't do it automatically, but if you ask for it, I DM'd them on X and they gave it back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like these are the little things that that most people don't know is how to reach customer service quickly with different companies. Is X your preferred way of reaching out to?
Depends on the airline, depends on the hotel, but yeah, it's usually where I'll start.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier than with a chat. You have to wait for the chat agent to come. You don't know if they'll understand what you want. Mm-hmm. So rather than wait on hold for a chat agent and have to do it all in real time on X, it's just easy. I'll just shoot off a direct message. They'll get to it whenever. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's a few hours, depending on the airline, depending on the time of day. But I do find that X is pretty great for customer service for airlines and hotels, car rental companies. They're all on there. Yeah, you just have to direct message them and they'll take care of you usually.
Are you using any SMS or WhatsApp customer service for any airlines or hotels?
El Al is big on WhatsApp. I'm surprised the other airlines aren't. I haven't really, maybe I'm missing it, but I haven't really seen much
on WhatsApp.
I
haven't either. And it confuses me so much. I was just talking to someone that runs a major company and he's like, oh, I don't use WhatsApp. And I'm like, right. To me, it's crazy. Like, do you know the market that you're missing here?
And maybe it's just because WhatsApp doesn't have the same market penetration in the US as they do in other countries.
It's iMessage in America.
Yeah. And every other country, it's WhatsApp.
Right.
So the iPhone market share just here is so great. And compared to other countries that people are on iMessage a lot more than WhatsApp.
Yeah, for sure. When I was in Cabo, Mexico, and I made my Walmart Plus order, I was chatting with the shopper on WhatsApp.
That's amazing.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
And he's just watching, okay, I'm pulling up now. I'm like, awesome, great. And the blue checks show up and he's sending me pictures of what I'm ordering and what I want. It was so easy.
Incredible.
I'm like, where is this in America?
Yeah.
I would never use Instacart again.
Yeah.
If Walmart Plus had WhatsApp.
Yeah, their chat system is horrendous.
So bad.
Interesting. Yeah, but I've used it with like hotels in the Maldives. Our butler is on WhatsApp and we're able to make requests, and it was amazing.
Same thing at Zadun and Cabo on WhatsApp, the butler. It's really incredible. Someone told me it's because of the Apple Store laws in the US.
Okay.
That it limits what companies can do with this type of WhatsApp API.
Interesting.
It's just much more limited legally. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Okay.
But if that ever does change, it'll be awesome.
Game changer.
Yeah, for sure. I booked an Alaska flight and I have executive platinum with American.
Okay.
But I wasn't getting my executive platinum benefits because I booked through Alaska.
Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah. So when you're booking the Alaska flight, it's going to ask you if you want to book this for yourself or somebody else. So if you write it's for yourself, then the box to enter
the saved profile.
Yeah.
Right.
If you click myself, you're booking yourself a ticket. It won't let you change the mileage number away from Alaska. So you're stuck with your Alaska mileage number and you're not going to get the benefits you'd get on American.
Okay.
So if you have American status or even just an American credit card, you won't get that free bag because it's recognized that as an Alaska ticket, an Alaska mileage number.
So what do you do instead?
So what I do is I saved a profile in my Alaska account for Daniel Elif. So now when I book a ticket, my options are myself or Daniel Elif.
Right.
And Daniel Elif, I could put in his American mileage number, executive platinum also.
So you put in the American number during the booking process by selecting yourself, not myself.
So the first time you're correct. So you just say, for the first time you did, you just write new passenger and just fill out your information.
Okay.
And then the next
with
time,
your American
and then
number.
save that in your profile for next time. And then you would just look for your name rather than myself.
That's so simple.
Yeah. And then as soon as you book it, you could log into your American mileage account on AA.com. The ticket will be there under My Trips. You can go in there. You can select, the main cab. Exactly. Main cabin extra, they call it.
Yeah.
But you'll be eligible for upgrades as well. Some routes are really great for American upgrades out of Cleveland. It's pretty easy to get an upgrade to Miami or to New York. So I just buy the coach ticket. But in other routes like, Miami to New York, it's going to be more difficult. So you're probably better off just spending the 15,000 miles for that business class ticket.
If you want that for the
route.
Yeah. 3-hour flight.
Yeah.
Debatable.
But again, it's just 7,500 miles. So
right.
extra. And you also get extra free bags and the other benefits that come with booking a business class ticket. So if you're flying with a couple of bags, it could make sense just monetarily to go first class.
Someone without status or a credit card for sure. That can make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So not every deal lasts forever. Alaska used to be incredible for booking flights to Israel. What was the deal back then?
So it was a pretty short-term deal because Alaska refreshed their award charts end of March this year. And through the end of July, they were still partners with El Al. So with their new award chart, because of how lucrative it is, it was only 35,000 miles to fly El Al economy, 45,000 for premium, and 70,000 miles for business class
US
between the US and Israel. You know, JFK, Tel Aviv, nonstop on El Al. So those are all crazy bargains.
Right.
So that lasted for a few months.
4 months.
Yeah, something like that. And that was an amazing deal while it lasted. Unfortunately, El Al decided to partner up with Delta and try to get into the SkyTeam Alliance. So Alaska's in One World Alliance and they didn't allow them to remain partners. So that ended the end of July. But people still have tickets. My brother-in-law flew it recently, and he actually had to make a change to his flight. There was a schedule change. So because of that schedule change, he was allowed to change the date of his flight. And he actually wound up entering his Virgin Atlantic mileage number and got miles for that flight because it rebooked him
as a
paid ticket because they're no longer partners.
Right.
So he actually wound up getting miles for that flight as if it was a paid flight, even though he only paid I think 70,000 to fly business class on El Al, which is, crazy value these days where business class is a fortune.
Right.
To fly to
hundreds
Israel.
of thousands of miles nowadays.
Or just $10,000 to fly round trip business class at least to Israel.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So that was a little opportunity.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
And Alaska used to be amazing for like Etihad and Emirates, right?
Yeah. Back in the day, there was some sweet spots there for Emirates and that went away. But yeah, I flew Emirates shower class, got the shower on board the plane and the suite with Alaska miles. That was a bargain.
So is it just more expensive now to book Alaska on Emirates or it doesn't exist?
No,
anymore?
their partnership ended a few years ago. Towards the end, they charged a lot more miles to fly in it than it used to be. They devalued that. So it wasn't a huge loss, but yeah, you're no longer able to use Alaska miles to fly in Emirates.
So almost have a shower on their flight. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the best ways of booking that now.
Yeah. So if you want to book Etihad shower class, their first class has a shower on board. Not quite as great as Emirates, though the seat is pretty cool. I didn't find the service quite as good as Emirates, but you could do that with Etihad miles. Also, it's kind of pricey, but you could find some decent deals with that. You could transfer from most banks over to Etihad, or if you have American miles, you could actually book Etihad. Usually, you have to do that within like 30 days of a flight for first class or 60 days of a flight for business class. So you have to do it closer in to find that availability through partners like American.
Will American be the cheapest partner?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And are you flying those carriers mainly to the UAE, like Dubai and Abu Dhabi? Are you flying them to Singapore? Where do you like to fly?
Yeah, really anywhere you want to go. If you want to go to South Africa or Seychelles or Indian subcontinent, there's a lot of opportunities there to go.
They fly to all those places from
connect.
The US with a stopover?
Yeah, stopping over with Etihad in Abu Dhabi or with Emirates through Dubai. And you can get a free stop over there if you want as well.
Do you feel that Dubai, Abu Dhabi is safe after what happened with Rabbi Kogan?
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy story. I felt very safe there going there. I was there in 2017.
Before the Abraham Accords.
Years before the Abraham Accords, and met with Rabbi Duchman, who is now the head shliach of the UAE. Back then he was just there kind of scouting the place out still. He was living there with a small community that was still underground.
Right.
But I felt really safe there. I felt safer there than I do in walking around Paris or London. So yeah, kind of shocking.
Not saying much.
No, it's not.
In 2024, at least, unfortunately, it's not funny at all. It's terrible what's happening in Europe right now for Jews.
Yeah.
So
no longer feels comfortable to walk around in a yarmulke there. Which is crazy that we've gotten to this point. But I do think that they're safe. I think the government responded very quickly. They're not supporting that kind of activity, and hopefully they'll be able to root that out. But obviously it's different when someone is working there and your patterns are able to be observed versus when you're just a visitor and you're not a specific target.
Right.
So obviously you need to take precautions wherever you travel as a visible Jew these days. That's true in Australia. That's true in Europe. That's true pretty much wherever you're going to go. And even here in the US, obviously not to the extent of those places. You have to be aware of your surroundings. But I think the risk as a tourist is low.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. make sure to subscribe and tune in next time to learn more.